Okay. Hi, this is Risa again with Dallas Movie Screenings, and I'm here with
Clint Bentley. I'm the co-writer and producer of Transpecos.
Great. Okay. The subject matter seems really dark for the description of the film. And that's what intrigued me, but at the same time I'm thinking, oh my goodness, I'm going to be depressed after I watch it.
No, we tried to, Greg and I, who wrote the film together, and Greg Cuidar directed it, we tried to infuse the film with a certain amount of levity. We didn't want it to just be this dark world, because the reality of the matter is that the border and the U.S.-Mexico border and the situation that we're in right now, there is a huge amount of darkness out there, metaphorically, and it is a really scary situation. But at the same time, we're focused in on the Border Patrol and the men and women who work that job day in and day out. And like anything else, there's going to be a certain amount of levity and lightness to a day. In this film, it does switch to a certain amount of darkness, but we wanted to take this dark situation and find the hope in it. And so I think you don't have to be too afraid of it being down or anything.
So is this like a current time, or is it a period piece?
The funny thing about the border out there, if you've ever been to West Texas and southern New Mexico and all of that, it's really interesting because it feels like you could be in the 1970s or it could be right now. You see buildings that have been there and cars that have been there since the 30s that are just still falling apart, and then brand new buildings that are up, and everything seems kind of lost in time. So it's a film it's set in current day, but it's I don't know, but that's an interesting aspect of the border scene.
So how did the story come about? I mean,
so Greg and I, the director and I, we each had our own experiences with the border and had been interested in it a long time. For Greg, he had worked with an orphanage along the border that was actually helping children who were displaced by the U.S.-Mexico border conflict. And myself, I had worked with people in the backs of kitchens and in sod farms who had come across the border. And so for both of us, there was all this political grandstanding and everything in the papers, and we were actually having human interactions with people who were affected by the situation on a daily basis. And so we wanted to do something. We wanted to do some movie within the border, and both of us individually and together. And so Greg had this really interesting experience where he was on the Rio Grande down in West Texas, in this beautiful, placid part of the river, and he's just skipping rocks. And out of nowhere, these two Border Patrol agents walk up. They come out of the bushes, and they stand next to him for a minute, and then they keep walking along the border, patrolling it. And he thought, if I hadn't been here, I'll bet these guys would have come up and started skipping stones too. And it was just that moment of seeing these people who you generally have very robotic experiences with them, seeing them as human beings. And it kind of opened up this picture for us of the border, that it's this crazy, surreal place where, you know, there's extreme violence at the drop of a coin, but at the same time, the people who are patrolling the border and the people who are coming across, they're both people. They're all just people.
So, how did you get the cast for your film? Sounds great.
Yeah, we're really proud of the cast that we pulled together. We have Johnny Simmons, who's a Dallas native. He was born and raised in Dallas, or at least he was raised in Dallas. But Johnny Simmons plays Agent Davis. Gabriel Luna, who plays Lance Flores, he is a Texas native as well, raised in Austin. And then Clifton Collins Jr. plays Agent Hobbs. And we just, you know, each one of these actors, not only we had huge respect for them before even going into working with them, but in working with them, they each came to embody their characters in a very specific way. And each of them brought things to the characters that brought the characters to life in ways that Greg and I had no idea was possible. And they each had their very own specific ways of getting into each character. Johnny, for example, was a very experiential actor, and so he bought a 1960s Airstream trailer on the way out. We shot from California to southern New Mexico where we shot, and he would live on the location in everywhere we shot. Sometimes this was in a location where we were down right near the U.S.-Mexico border, 40 minutes from the nearest town, and no cell phone service, no electricity or anything like that. Gabriel Luna took on this aspect of his character, which you'll see in the movie, which is kind of the glue between everybody, and kind of and he's got this very thoughtful way of getting into his characters. And then Clifton Collins Jr., he was kind of intellectual about getting into his character, and he pulled together all this research, read all these books, all these articles, and then he would ask Greg and I on every single line on the script, to the point where you really had to, he really would dissect each scene and each line of, does this relate back to my character, and would my character say this? And it was really, all three of those actors made our script and made the movie something so much better than it would have been otherwise.
Did you have to change anything as they gave their input on it?
Well, we didn't have to change anything. I guess, but we did change. The bones of the story stayed the same. But when all three of these actors came on board, they each helped us find. By listening to them, they helped us find. Better versions of a lot of the scenes and better versions of their characters in the script, and so yeah, we did change things based on their input, and yeah, like I said, it made it so much better.
So where did you shoot this?
We shot the film in southern New Mexico, in a little town outside of a little town called Deming, New Mexico, which is a wonderful little town, and just has so many different landscapes to it within a 10-minute drive of this town. And it's kind of it's a town that you would drive by on the interstate and you might not stop there unless you had a reason to. But it became our home for 6 or 8 weeks.
So how long did it take to get this all together? I mean, from the start of writing the script to the actual film.
It's been a journey. Greg and I started writing the script together in 2011, and it took until 2015, and we shot it in June of 2015, and then we shot it very quickly. We spent this time from about 4 years doing research and meeting Border Patrol agents and reading books and devouring everything we could, and then we shot it in the course of 16 days. And so it was all it was like stuffing this cannon and then you shoot it off all at once and that's it. But it was, it was one of those things of, we were on such a short production time, and it was such a difficult production just because of the elements. Most days were up to 110 degrees. It would get up to 120. Our shoes, the soles of our shoes were melting onto the cement, onto the pavement of the road, but there's a certain aspect you'll see when you watch the movie. It's a thriller at the end of the day. It lives in that thriller genre, and at the end of the day, all of that, shooting it so quickly and all of the difficulties with the locations really gave it
sense of urgency.
Yeah, exactly, a sense of urgency that it might not have had otherwise. Have you been down to New Mexico, or that area, West Texas, New Mexico?
I've only driven through. I've never really stopped.
Okay.
Yes, it's very bleak and hot.
It is, but it's bleak and it's hot. But at the same time, there's such beauty out there, and you look at. That's one of the things we wanted to highlight about the desert itself, is that you look out across it. And it's just gorgeous. It's so still and it's so perfect. It looks like a painting as you look out across the mountains, and the mountains are 4 different colors based on the way the sun's shining on them. And then you get out there and you get out in the middle of the desert, and you find very quickly that there's many ways for you to die. There are snakes, there are bugs, there are plants that will kill you, and if you can escape all of that, the heat will kill you. And so that was one thing we wanted to highlight about the location, and one thing that became very interesting for our characters in the location. We have characters in the film who are Border Patrol agents, obviously, and then some characters are people crossing the border. And it just, being in a situation like that, being in a location that's so harsh and can be so uninviting, really brings out, it strips off all the superficial elements of a character, right?
It sounds so interesting.
Sorry, go ahead.
I'm wondering, have you played it anywhere else? Is this the premiere?
We premiered the film at South by Southwest Film Festival and won the audience award there.
Wow.
And
Great.
we've been really pleased and really honored with how audiences have responded to it so far. Because what we hope to do with it was we hope to make an exciting movie that just keeps you on the edge of your seat. By the time it takes off, you forget to breathe sometimes until it ends. That's what we hope to do. But then also within that, we hope to weave in some of the bigger aspects of not only the border, but just the world out there in general that we're dealing with as a country, but also just as people, not outside of any political boundaries. And so our hope is that anyone who comes and sees the film will have an amazing time and enjoy themselves watching it. But then at the end, whatever side of the political spectrum they fall on, or whatever preconceptions they have about the border and the border crisis, that they will think a little differently at the end of it.
So what kind of distribution are you expecting? Are you going to hit the other film festivals, or are you going to... We're working on distribution right now to open it, hopefully theatrically. So, that'd be great.
Yeah, it would be great. Those desert vistas just play so well on the big screen, They look so you don't have to do much to make it look good out there. You just point the camera and let it go. And one aspect of it as well is 38 of our 40 scenes in the movie are exterior desert. And so most of the film was shot with natural light, except for night scenes where we had to bring in extra lights. So you really feel like you're out there. The work that Greg Quidar did as a director, and Jeffrey Waldron was our DP, and the work that they did is just amazing to capture that in a way that's not glorifying the world, but just presents it in the beauty that it has.
How did you get funding for the film? Is this one of those?
It was all privately funded.
Oh.
It was all privately funded, and yeah, we had no help. It's a completely independent film. We have no help from the Border Patrol or any aspect of the U.S. government. So it's we were just very scrappy in terms of getting it made.
So are any of the participants in the film going to be there at the screening?
Yes, I will be there. Greg, the director, will be there. We're hoping to bring Johnny Simmons and Clifton Collins Jr. into town. That's something that the festival's working on. So we hope they can work it out.
That'd be great.
Yeah, it would be great. I'm trying to think of anything else. What are your readers mostly? Dallas Movie Screenings is online, right?
Yes.
And what kind of stuff do you guys usually publish? What are they into?
We usually do reviews, but they love hearing about the films, and we're big supporters of DIP, so.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we like promoting.
Yeah. Greg is a Dallas Fort Worth. He's born and raised in Fort Worth. I'm not from Texas, but I've lived in Texas for a long time. We've got a big Texas crew and cast, and we're excited to bring it to Dallas Film Festival.
And so what nights are the film screening?
I don't know the answer.
You don't know? All right, I'll look it up.
I'm sorry. No, it's I believe we're screening the 20th and the 21st.
Okay.
So
that'd be great.
Yeah. You might want to check me on that before you publish that one.
Right.
Yeah, it's it was crazy. We really found it was like filming out there in the desert. We were on the actual border, and you'll see in the film the actual border fence. And it was being like out in the middle of the ocean sometimes, where it's very beautiful when you look out from the beach, but as soon as you get out there, you know that we're not supposed to be there as humans. But and we had the help from we had a technical advisor who was a retired Border Patrol agent who helped us get everything from radio call signs down to the ways an actor should hold the gun or the way the actor should walk. Just all these little things that we couldn't have made the film as realistic and believable were it not for him.
Have you ever watched those border shows?
Yeah, we've watched you talking about the ones on National Geographic?
Right.
Yeah. One thing we wanted to do is that our film Transpecos is very much grounded in reality, very much grounded in research, and very much grounded in real events that have happened to Border Patrol agents. Some of them, it's a fiction film, a fiction narrative, but it's based in those things. But at the end of the day, we didn't want to. We wanted the drama to always be very realistic and very human. And at the end of the day, just bring it back to these three agents and what they're going through. And as they're trying to make the best of this horrible situation that they're in, focusing on them and the wake they're leaving behind, and the chaos they're leaving behind in their wake. And so, yeah, we always wanted to. We never wanted to over dramatize anything. It's a thriller, and that happens. So,
well, good luck with the film.
Thank you very much.
Sounds great. It's one of the ones that I circled as
great.
Going to see.
Oh well, I hope you get to make it out. Yeah, it's fun to see it with an audience too. And I'm trying to think what else. I don't know. That's it.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
appreciate it.
Have a great day.